Hey, everybody. Dan and Jeff here. Jeff and Dan, we are both here. Episode 6, the series is flying along. The series is called Rhythm and Lows because that's what we talk about. Drums and bass and drums, some of our favorite duos, or like last month, which if you're watching this live or this month, that would have been the June show. Jeff dug up just some awesome players he found on the internet.
Yeah.
But this time we're going to talk about some players that, Jeff, I think it's fair to say a lot, not most, but maybe most people within a certain age range and musicality as fans or musicians are certainly familiar with this band. And I'll let you do the introduction of the band and the topic.
Well, thanks, Dan, and hi, everybody. Glad you guys could make it. The band that I chose to regard today is Tower of Power, a group that I sat in with once, a group that invited me to play when Rocco Prestia had gotten sick, their bass player, but I couldn't make it.
When was this, Jeff? What time period? I didn't know that.
Oh, that was, I would say, early in the 2000s.
Okay, nice.
I would say early in the 2000s. I am not only a fan of Tower of Power, but I worship the band. What people are going to hear today is something astounding because of the nature of what it is, the interactive element of music. People know that I'm anti-metronome. People know that pretty much I'm anti almost everything that people are told helps people to play better, and believing and having a lot of validation that my views never originated with me, in the sense that when I say people have good time, I can show it, and I'm going to show it today. Tower of Power began with Emilio, forgot his last name. See, I'm a huge Tower fan. Don't go away. Don't go away. This is vital for me to share, and I got to make sure that I get the facts right.
Yeah.
Today.
And while Jeff's looking, I'll tell you, folks, another thing to look at when we show this clip, 1973. Look at the fashion and the hairdos and everything.
There we go. I got it.
So cool. Yeah. Back to you, Jeff.
Oh, sorry, I interrupted you. What were you talking about?
Oh, I was just saying, while you're looking, that for people to pay attention in the clip from 1973, the fashion, the hairdo, it's like so throwback. It's so classic.
It's classic, and it's also a demonstration of people that could play their living asses off. Absolutely. Emilio Castillo was a guy from Oakland, and one day he got it into his head to make a band. He couldn't play sax very well, and met up with other guys that were also street kids, including one kid he met in wood shop in high school, junior high school, that turned out to be Rocco, who never took a lesson. The whole aspect of Tower of Power is complete and total self-taught and being in it experience, which literally is the experience of everybody, that the greatest players and the greatest interaction have always come by being in it. So you can hear the very first record of Tower and listen at Oakland. No, it's not Oakland Stroke. Anyway, back to Oakland. I can't see. Look at me. I don't have these titles. Okay. The very first record of Tower, and compare it with this band of 1973. There's no metronome. There's no click track. But what you are about to hear is the tightest interaction of subdivisional 16th notes almost in all of music. And it was acquired by being in it and improving in it, to where what you're going to hear is a rhythm guitarist who, in my opinion, the late, I forget his names. I didn't think I was going to do this. Who was the guitarist in Tower of Power? And the guitarist in Tower of Power was, nope, they didn't get. Bruce Conti.
Yeah.
Bruce Conti, who I feel is one of the greatest rhythm guitarists of all time. And you're going to hear it here. And the bass, coincidentally, in this section is not Rocco Prestia. It's Chester Thompson, the Hammond organ player, who is one of the funkiest Hammond organ players of all time. And he's covering bass and soloing. And then you have David Garibaldi, one of the funkiest drummers of all time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
he's unreal. And this section is going to knock people over, what you're about to hear. It's about
No
a
matter what kind of music you're into, and I want to give a couple disclaimers. One, this is a longer clip than we normally play because it's so worth it. Number two, I want to get mail. I want to get notifications. I want to get complaints because I'm going to ask you folks to take out your earbuds, turn your speakers up at work in your cubicle, at school. I want to know someone got sent to the principal's office, someone got furloughed from work. Just blast this because it's so worth it. And then Jeff and I will talk about it. He'll pick it apart. Check this out.
We up on Chester Thompson, better known as CT, on the organ, on the bass. Get down, CT. It ain't no harm to feel good, y'all. There ain't no harm to clap your hands.
Just
you guys
amazing.
believe that?
Yeah, the bass line being carried on the Hammond organ was classic while he's soloing too.
He played the bass on that. Rocco sat out. But this tune needs a couple of mentions. A very popular ethic is to that the bass and the drum should mesh. That lock with the drummer. And I've always disagreed with that because if you listen to this band, you have a drummer, a Hammond organist playing solo and bass, and a rhythm guitarist and a conga player
Right.
who were all utterly and without a scrap of flaw in time driving that band.
Yeah.
And when the horns came in, they had the same ethic. The nature of bass and drums, it's attractive, but it's not true. A band locking together raises up the performance. And what we have here is literal, utter, organic, non-metronomic, funky groove and perfection. And I really hope that people caught that. So that maybe thinking and approach to playing could be different, because groove is last. These guys didn't play like this at the beginning. They played like this later.
Yeah.
Isn't that an amazing track, Dan?
It is. And another thing where they locked in is where they suddenly all came way down in the dynamics, and he's holding that vibrato note on the organ and then went into the effects with the drawbars and everything. That was really cool. When he introduced him, he said on the Hammond C3, but I had a C3 and it's a lot smaller than a B3. I'm pretty sure that was a B3. I might be wrong, but I think it was. He might have misspoke, or I heard it wrong. But one of the heaviest pieces of musical gear could move around, other than a grand piano.
Yeah, I used to schlep one in a band I was in when I was studying in Boston. Yeah,
with the Leslie cabinet and the rotator on top. Yeah, my cousin had one of those. Classic. Yeah, with the Doppler effect. But you point something out that is so important. Yeah, it's almost sort of a platitude. And it's also sort of like a given. Of course, the bass and drums are supposed to mesh and lock in. But that doesn't mean that everything else is supposed to be falling by the wayside or spinning off it like a tornado. And when everyone's in, there's those moments where you just know. And it could be the same song, but on that one particular night on tour or at a gig, it's just elevated so much better because the telepathy's more in tune. Everyone's feeding off of just how good that other person's playing, and it affects you the same way that I feel, Jeff. And I'm sure other drummers can relate to this, and other musicians with their respective instrument. When your drums sound good, you feel better and you play better. Historically, when I let my studio get really cold, typically in the winter, and we get some snow up here, when it's really cold, the drum shells get harder. And when the drum shells are harder, they're louder, which gives you more dynamic range. And for me, they're just more fun to play. And I feel like I play better when they sound better. Maybe I still play like crap, but the drums just sound better. I don't know. But I think that that's what's happening. It's all they're elevating each other as they're locking more and more in as a multi, faceted unit, like you're saying, not just bass and drums.
Well, they don't discuss groove and they don't discuss feel. They never did.
It happens. You got it or you don't.
Well, all groups that find their way by beginning and sounding usually unsteady and unsure. Yeah. It's a growth process that I think that a lot of us in the contemporary world don't encourage people to do, which I try to find a synonym for SUCK, but I can't seem to find one. Play poorly, play in mediocrity. But the term is, when we begin and when we play it according to our experience, thus we suck. It's a common word. I heard it on Scott's bass lessons, except I think Scott said it souk. So, but the thing is that path and is vital. To suck, to play poorly, and collectively start to increase in awareness. And what people heard from this little clip was a group aware and arrived at a place of sophistication that they couldn't have arrived at without playing poorly for a long time and adjusting and correcting it. Suck is a part of progress. And every instrument was vital. So yeah, the drums and bass, it's a little bit of an overstated thing. It's like, when you go out today, make sure you don't hit a tree.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks for the advice, but I was kind of aware of that. So groove or feel is fairly well obvious. So I hope everyone dug that, because when the organ solo was going on, there were conga, guitar, Hammond organs, B3, and drums. And nobody could squeeze a slip of paper between those 16 notes. And
let's not forget the two tambourine players. They easily could have just made it sound sloppy, but they were on point as well.
Because it's expected.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that. That's an interesting view. But these guys are way too good musicians to not play what is expected. And whereas bass players, or at least in my instrument, people sort of refer to the obvious, the expected. What's that to play in time? I mean, gee whiz. So I hope that this was an eye opener for people.
Definitely. I want to give a couple of shout outs watching on Facebook. A couple of the people. Sergio Silzar, great greetings from Mexico City. Hola, ¿cómo estás? ¿Qué estás haciendo?
La próxima vez me gustaría que me voy para tocar en el Ciudad de México.
I bet you folks didn't expect this. And then Sean Lynn Smith, hello from Virginia Beach. Hi, Sean. Thanks for tuning in as well. And everybody else watching. Jeff, so this is 1973, that clip. Mm-hmm. So how long were they together at that point? And whatever it is, I'm sure you can stress how important it is that you have to play a lot together to get that good together to be able to reach that. But I don't think because when did the first album come out? Was it 70?
It was early. They were playing a long time in Oakland.
That's
how long
true.
Did Tower of Power, what year did Tower of Power begin? How long? Okay.
Jeff is texting his sister Amy, by the way.
1968. And have been active. So by the time this came out, and again, these were guys that, respect to them, didn't really play that well. Yeah. They were really just guys that had dedication and became what they became. So by the time this clip came out, this was a band, a working, playing band for 5 years. I have an interesting story. You know the great drummer Mike Clark?
Yeah.
Mike played on Thrust, one of the preeminent funk records of all time. And he lived in Oakland, and he once told me that when Tower of Power had begun, the club owners used to open the door, and I don't know about windows, but he opened the door so that the music would waft out onto the road, and people had to go into the club to check out who was playing.
I've heard that as well. Yeah. Interesting and smart. That's on the spot marketing right there. Yeah, once the date comes and the flyers have lived their shelf life, that's the best you could do, is just blast it out there, literally.
Isn't that a wonderful story? No?
It is. And I love the fact that the whole self-taught thing, because I think sometimes music is overthought, and I think music is too manufactured sometimes. And I think a lot of people would be surprised to learn what virtuosos and even just really good musicians are out there who are self-taught. I've been a Yes fan since 1971 or 2, since like 72 or 3, and I was shocked to learn only like a year or two ago that Steve Howe is self-taught. And he's one of the most biggest guitar virtuosos ever. There's so many others that we're probably not aware of that were self-taught, and I love that, because it shows that you can't just jump in and just do something, but you still have to apply yourself. And when it comes to music, Jeff, talk about this. You have to learn and understand your instrument. You have to explore, learn what sounds you can get out of them. I'm always telling young drummers or drummers that are, just starting out, that play with those cymbals. A ride cymbal just doesn't make that one ride sound. The crash cymbal just doesn't. Play with it all over the part of the instrument and hit it in different ways with different parts you say. I mean, there's so much you can get out of an instrument, but I think so many people are just in that tunnel with the blinders on. They don't take time to go, let me see what this does. Or here's something interesting they like a guitar harmonic with rolling the pick, and they don't investigate, well, how did they do that? Let me see if I can do that. A lot of classical musicians, I think we've talked about this, most of them are completely unable to pick up their instrument and just improvise and start playing something. They can only read music that's in front of them. If I was taught that way, but I had this instrument just laying around, I think I'd want to screw around with it and see what it does and make some music, bad, worse, or indifferent. But Jeff, talk about that, the exploration of one's instrument and how important that is.
Absolutely. I've mentioned And I stand by, excuse me, pardon me, on live too.
Yeah.
There's only two ways that we learn how to play: by being self-taught, in charge of what we decide to play the cymbal, as Dan said, or roll the pick, or try things. And the other way is being taught written music. Now, a classical musician learns to express and phrase the works that they work on. They're not improvisational musicians, because improvising requires knowledge of a certain harmony. So it's expected that they're going to stay this way. But for bass players, drummers, there's only two ways that any of us are ever going to play better. One way, being self-taught, literally includes all of everybody. The Jimi Hendrix, the Tower of Power, all of us. It includes 100%. The problem is that the self-taught approach isn't reliable to produce good results, and a lot of people don't improve by it, and that's a fact. Learning music, that is C, D, E, F, G, da, 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 is called mechanical, but everybody, that's 100% of us that practice written music, will improve in the harmony and the reading, and you'll improve as bass players. So when you learn music that you don't know at the beginning and develop your technique to play it, and then buy Tower of Power records or buy records of the people you love, your playing is already at a level where when you hear records and imitate what you're playing, you don't really have as many limited technical limitations as a pure self-taught player does, because self-taught players sometimes stay right here on this plateau for 10, 20, 30 years. And one reason why I know this is because older guys write me all the time: "Dear Jeff, I wish I listened to you when I was a kid." The advice I gave never came from me. It's just a fact. And I want people to know this, that you will get better by being taught music, and you'll get better by being self-taught. You have to love it, and you got to suck like I suck.
Yeah. It's part of the process.
Part of the process. But that's the answer that I think would improve people. And one of the popular beliefs, there's many ways to skin a cat. There's more than one way to skin a cat. There's actually two ways to skin an animal. If you look it up, I looked it up because the analogy interested me. So when the analogy suggested that there's many ways to be taught, it's actually flawed. In skinning an animal, there's only two usable methods. So narrow is better while being self-taught. Roll the pick, play the cymbal. And that's my thoughts. Did I answer well?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was thinking while you were answering that another example is, I believe anyone who takes like their guitar hero, their bass hero, their drum hero, if it's anyone that's been around for a while, and I'll say, let's say 5 albums or more, 5 albums, depending on the era. Well, in the 60s, that could be 1 year, but let's just say over the course of 5 or 10 years, if you listen to the first recordings of that musician, even Jack Bruce, if you listen to early Jack Bruce versus later in his career, you hear the evolution, and it's from that exploration, and it's from learning more about the instrument and what it'll do, and throwing all the academia not away, but putting it aside and getting more into the alchemy of it and seeing what you can, no pun intended, drum up.
Well, alchemy is a great synonym for being self-taught. It's a lovely synonym. It's the alchemy, which sort of bodes of something that doesn't really quite exist, but might be developed, making gold out of pig iron or whatever.
Right.
That's sort of it's sort of a catharsis, in a sense, in the self-exploration of music, to create gold, to be an alchemist and develop something. But to do it, you got to work hard. What's that story about Thomas Edison? That he had 999 failures, but finally he made the light bulb with the filament.
And then he contended he didn't fail at all. He found 999 ways it wouldn't work. Those are discoveries.
Absolutely. God, he should have been a musician, that Thomas Edison.
Yeah.
I told him, but he didn't listen.
You were around. What instrument do you think would suit him best?
For me, I don't know, but he could have played with the Electric Light Orchestra.
Oh, good grief. Awesome, folks. Thanks for tuning in. I have kind of a surprise for the next episode. It's actually someone that I kind of discovered that played on the same bill as a gig I played at last night. And it's, like I said, last month, Jeff dug something out that weren't big stars or huge influencers. I found someone like that last night that I want to show off on our next show. And they're very young, they're like 21, and so good. It was just mind blowing. And it's fun in 2025 to not only see new, fresh, mind blowing music, but by youngsters. So stay tuned for that. And Jeff and I will be back. Thanks, everybody, so much. We will see you soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Oops, wrong button. There we go.